Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're heading to the Korean Peninsula, taking a look at two cities that couldn't be much more different, really. Kaist up in the north and Busan down south. We've got this stack of source notes here that kind of act like a cultural X-ray, letting us compare the very DNA of these places. We're talking ancient ruins, street food, even how the language sounds. Our goal here is to really zoom in on how things like geography, history, and of course political division have forged two totally distinct identities. One is all about the past, heritage, reunification dreams, and the other, built on resilience, this dynamic connection to the sea, and maybe just sheer survival.
Yeah, looking through the sources, that contrast just jumps right out at you. It's so clear. Kaesung really holds the memory of a unified Korea, specifically that Goryeo dynasty period. It's like the nation's historical heart. Busan, though, it's the picture of modern South Korea. Survival, energy, global connections. It's almost a perfect study in two diverging paths.
One looking back, guarding its roots, maybe?
Sort of, yeah. And the other looking out, looking forward. Really propelled by the sea and its own resilience.
Okay, let's start there then, with that history. It really does feel heavy in Kaesong, doesn't it? I mean, it was the imperial capital for the Goryeo dynasty for centuries. We're talking 918 to 1392.
Exactly. And the sources make it clear it wasn't just, the political center. It was the hub for refined culture, learning, diplomacy, the real engine room.
And you can still see traces of that.
Oh, absolutely. You've got the Manuel-Day Palace ruins, though they are just ruins now,
Yeah.
but also the Songyungwan Academy. That was the highest Confucian educational institute in Korea.
Wow. So the absolute peak of scholarship.
Pretty much. Kaesong was the keeper of that ancient learning. Even after the capital eventually moved to Seoul, Kaesong always kept that status as a place of, well, deep heritage.
But then the 20th century hits and everything changes. The Korean War ends, and this ancient capital, this symbol of a unified past, ends up just north of the DMZ in North Korea.
And that political shift is just fundamental. Kaesong actually changed hands multiple times during the war. So where it ended up, right near the border, was incredibly sensitive strategically.
So it went from being central to everything.
To being a guarded crossroads city, as some sources put it. History preserved, yes, but kind of frozen, paused. Its historical role got tragically flipped into being a symbol of division.
Okay, so if Kaesong's identity was shaped over centuries of governing, Busan's feels like it was forged in, what, just 3 intense years of survival during the war?
That's a great way to put it. The notes really zeroed in on Busan's wartime role. It was the temporary capital, the one major area that wasn't captured.
The last refuge.
Exactly. Millions of people poured in. And that experience, surviving against incredible odds, just fundamentally shaped its modern character. It didn't have that ancient imperial past, which maybe freed it up.
Liberated it, maybe, to become something totally new.
I think so. It didn't have the burden of being the historical capital, so it became a city of survivors defined by grit, by necessity.
And that didn't just vanish after the armistice.
Not at all. It pivoted immediately. Became a vital trade port and industrial powerhouse. Today, it's Korea's second city. You see these modern skyscrapers right next to the raw maritime culture.
And the UN Memorial Cemetery is there too, right? A reminder of that war.
Yes, a very sobering reminder of the international effort that basically saved the city and the country. It's part of Busan's story.
So that historical contrast is really sharp. Kaesong, the preserved, maybe paused ancient heart. Busan, the dynamic survivor. Let's shift now from history to how they function as symbols today. One reaching for unity, the other kind of embracing the world.
Well, for Kaesong, the big symbol in recent memory was definitely the Kaesong Industrial Complex, that joint North-South project running from about 2004 to 2016.
Right, South Korean companies, North Korean workers, a very tangible, if complicated, symbol.
Exactly. It was this physical experiment in dialogue and cautious reconciliation. Even though it's suspended now, its existence made Kaesong central to that whole reunification narrative.
And the North Korean sources reflect that too.
Oh, definitely. Official messaging calls it the city of reunification, or where the nation's spirit breathes. It's positioned as the guardian of history, waiting for that future.
And in the South, it still carries that weight.
Absolutely. Kaesong comes up constantly in art, in discussions about peace, about overcoming the DMZ. It's loaded with this profound, symbolic meaning, even if it feels frustrated right now.
Meanwhile, Busan seems to have decided its future lies outward, across the ocean, not necessarily just looking north.
Completely. It's not focused inward on the division in the same way. It's actively cultivating this cosmopolitan maritime identity. Think about the Busan International Film Festival, BIFF.
One of the biggest in Asia, right?
Exactly. That signals its global ambition. Cultural trade, international connections, that's key to its identity. Even their slogan, Dynamic Busan, isn't just talk. It captures that restless port city energy. It's a very deliberate contrast to Kaohsiung's more preserved heritage focus.
That distinction, preserved heritage versus dynamic globalism, feels like a perfect lead-in to the sensory stuff, the culture you can taste, see, and hear. This is where the DNA really seems to diverge.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
And the cuisine contrast is fascinating because food always tells a story, doesn't it? Kaohsiung's food, as the sources describe it, is elegant, it's delicate, complex. It's a direct link back to the Goryeo royal court. This isn't simple food.
Give us some examples. What stands out?
Well, there's balsam kimchi. This isn't just pickled cabbage. It's carefully wrapped kimchi, often stuffed with things like seafood, pine nuts, maybe some fruit. It's like culinary architecture.
Wow.
And then you have pyeonsu. These are distinctive square-shaped summer dumplings, often served chilled. Very precise, very refined. And you can't forget the kikin ginseng. It's considered top tier.
Okay, that sounds like food you'd eat thoughtfully, maybe slowly. Busan's food sounds heartier, more direct.
Totally. It's the flavor of necessity, of the sea, of survival maybe. If Kaohsiung's food needs a delicate plate, Busan's needs a big, steaming bowl. Take milmayeon, cold wheat noodles.
Wheat, not buckwheat.
Right, because during the war, wheat flour from foreign aid was much easier to get, so they invented this dish. It's pure resilience on a plate, you know?
And that famous pork soup. Dwajikukpap.
Yes. That rich, hearty pork and rice soup. It's warm, it's filling, it's comforting, it's the taste of sticking it out. And then there's the Jigalchi market, the huge seafood market that influences everything.
And street food, too.
Oh yeah, like sias harek, those sweet pancakes filled with seeds. It's all very direct, satisfying, full of energy. No royal court fussiness here.
That difference seems to carry over into style and fashion, too. Kaohsiung, with its history, was known for silk, for traditional hanbok. Modern style seems state-influenced, emphasizing heritage robes for ceremonies.
Yes, it's about preserving a certain aesthetic, connecting to that refined past. Control is part of it too, inevitably.
Whereas Busan is beaches, right? Hyundai, Gwangali.
Exactly. So the style you see is much more casual, relaxed. It's influenced by the coast, by surf culture even, shorts, sundresses, beachwear. It's dictated by the environment and leisure, not by some historical mandate. It's just looser.
Okay, finally, let's talk sound. The dialects, the music. Kaohsiung uses the Huanghai dialect. The notes say it's softer, maybe more melodic than Pyongyang speech.
That's the description, yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe a bit gentler on the ear. Musically, its roots are deep in court music, which influenced classical forms like pansori, that epic one-person opera style, and gagok, which are complex art songs.
So the mood is elegant, maybe a little sad.
Refined elegance, definitely. And perhaps, yeah, a touch of bittersweet longing, reflecting that lost unity, that division.
And Busan's sound, totally different story, I gather. The Busan dialect, the Saturi, it's known for being strong, passionate.
Oh, yeah. It's often perceived as direct, maybe even a bit fiery. It's definitely not soft.
Yeah.
Very expressive.
Got any examples?
Well, a common greeting is hufa, which is like a rapid fire but affectionate. Have you eaten? Or maybe a sharp, ooh, stop it already. The language has punch. It reflects that resilient personality.
And musically.
Musically, Busan is famous as the birthplace of Korean trot music, that older, sentimental pop genre. But today, it's also a huge source of K-pop idols and hosts big international music festivals. The vibe is resilient, direct, and, well, kind of cinematic, actually.
It really is amazing how the core purpose, governing versus surviving, seems to change the actual sound of a city. The words, the tone, the rhythm. Which brings us to our last point, what the music itself reveals about their identities now.
Yeah, the song notes we looked at for Kaohsiung are really drenched in metaphor. They keep mentioning the Manwolde ruins, almost framing people there as guardians of that Goryeo spirit.
Looking after the past.
Exactly. And there are these recurring images connecting the famous Kaohsiung ginseng roots, these deep roots, to this idea of fragile hope, like waiting for flowers to bloom again, even across the division. It's dignified, patient, maybe a little melancholic.
Music about waiting, enduring. And Busan's music.
Completely different energy, explosive, forward-looking. Yeah. The song notes mention the big landmarks like the Gwangan Bridge, the Hyundai Waves. The themes are all about the spirit of the survivors.
Like that line, wartime also did not extinguish the lights.
Precisely. It's a celebration of that passionate heart, that Simjang Tojiopta, literally hot heart. It's asserting itself to the world. And this is where it gets really interesting with Arang.
Ah, the classic Korean folk song, the anthem of longing.
Right. Both cities have their own version. Kaesung's Arang is apparently steeped in that older Goryeo elegance. It looks back, reflecting that refined sadness of division.
And Busan's.
Busan's Arang is described as much more dynamic, maybe louder, powered by the sea, by the energy of people who rebuilt everything. One is anchored in the past, yearning for unity. The other is just pushing full speed ahead into the future.
So wrapping this up for you listening, we've explored these two really opposing cultural vibes. You've got Kaesong, the ancient heart, preserved but paused, defined by its history as a capital, and it's a difficult spot right near the DMZ. And then there's Busan, the dynamic survivor, just surging forward with this maritime energy, defined by resilience and its role as this essential global gateway. We've seen how that division created this deep cultural split, from delicate balsam kimchi to hearty dwaji gukbap, from softer courtly dialects to that passionate satori you hear on the docks. So here's something to think about. If a city's main purpose shapes its flavor, its food, its sound, its style, how deeply does that culture change when the core historical job shifts? Shifts from governing and holding on to power, like Kaesong did for centuries, to simply surviving and forging its own path, the way Busan had to. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Korean Peninsula's contrasting landscapes. We hope it gave you some new ways to connect the dots.